principles of governance. It has issues of transparency, inclusivity or inclusiveness. It has about equity, about social justice, about equality. It has all those things, our foundational principles. If we run our nation through the operational manual, the Constitution, we can't go wrong.
Yeah.
It has how we should relate with each other. You know, Kenya belongs to all of us, the 54 million Kenyans.
Correct.
And its priorities should reflect the priorities of the people, the very basic needs of the people articulated in Article 43, which support the right to life and human dignity.
Correct.
And that is food, education, health, things like water, electricity, and so on, shelter, you know, because the right to life and human dignity sometimes have to be supported by actions of the state. We put our collective wealth in a basket called tax, which goes to the treasury.
Correct.
It is that collective wealth of Kenyans that should give services that support the right to life.
Yeah.
Ensure that nobody sleeps hungry. It means giving support to the social support to the vulnerable. And yes, social support did start with the Uhuru government.
Yeah.
I don't know whether with the Uhuru or with the Kibaki, but with the Uhuru government under the 2010 constitution, where the aged are given 2,000. Some orphans get money. But social support by now should have been spread wide to include the jobless,
Correct.
to include those who have no shelter. Instead, government, KK government doing, is destroying shelter for those who have shelter through demolitions. And it does not matter whether your shelter is a shack. It is a shelter
It's still
you
shelter.
have.
Yeah.
Unless the state is offering you alternative accommodation, they have no business demolishing what you have. And the people for whom they are demolishing, some of them have titles.
Yeah.
It is their hard earnings, retirees with nothing else to look forward to economically. You make them destitute.
Correct.
When a state that thinks about people wants land for development and you have to do mass demolition, then you are required not only to give notice, but to find alternative
correct.
accommodation. You can't just demolish and hope they vanish into thin air. You are creating a humanitarian crisis.
Correct.
Yet it is the state that is supposed to be the first responder to humanitarian crisis. So doing things that don't make sense. We have seen abductions, and state, we know that.
State sanctioned.
We have seen abductions, illegal detentions in places that are not gazetted facilities. We have seen executions because some of those abducted turn up dead.
Yeah.
We have seen the abduction spread beyond the citizens to foreigners residing in Kenya, legitimately. People from the East African community, who we cannot call foreigners because we are in the Jumuiya, people like Maria Sarungi.
Correct.
We have seen Ethiopians abducted and renditioned to their countries. We have seen Turkish nationals renditioned to Turkey. You are returned to the country you fled from because of persecution. We have seen my client and friend, Dr. Kisa Besige and Obed Lutare, abducted from Kenya by both Kenyan security agencies and Ugandan military, returned and detained in Kampala, tried in a military court, and now in a civilian court. And by the way, the Besige case, they actually took him through the border without the proper procedure. No stamping of any document. His passport was still in a hotel in Kenya. And beyond Besige, 36 other Ugandans belonging to his political party, FDC Katonga, were also renditioned, arrested not arrested, but abducted from Kisumu by Ugandan military with the help of Kenyan security agencies and renditioned to Uganda, again without going through the border, which is the offense of trafficking in persons.
Correct.
Because whenever a person moves from one territory to another, there's supposed to be a record through immigration.
Yeah.
The danger of abducting people and trafficking them beyond the jurisdiction is that they can be disappeared forever without any record.
Without any records,
So
correct.
this is the state of Kenya and the state of Uganda committing crimes, rogue acts of abduction and taking people out of jurisdiction without any court order.
Without any court order.
And our laws require that there must be a court order. And beyond that, at the border, there must be a record.
There has to be records.
Yeah.
Now, I'm happy that you've brought up these matters, especially, to do with abductions and how the state is sanctioning a lot of these things. There's an MOU that was signed on the 7th of March between Raila and I call him WSR,
Dr.
but
Ruto.
Dr. Ruto. And, I really want to understand what you make of that MOU because for me, from my interpretation, this is, it has all the makings for BBI 2.0 because it has 10 listed items. 9 of those are in our constitution. So the NADCO report is what I'm looking at because we need to dissect it. But what do you make of the handshake and also the components of that MOU?
That MOU is actually the beginning of destroying of our democracy and accountability systems. The Political Parties Act, those who may Google, go straight to Section 10. It gives how two parties may cooperate, especially if one is in government. You have to have an agreement, a written agreement, either if it is before elections, 3 months before the elections, if it's an agreement to go into elections together, you have to deposit it with the Registrar of Political Parties.
Correct.
That is what KK did. That's what Azimio did. These were pre-election coalition agreements. After the elections, if you wish to work together as two political parties and one is in government, you must election coalition agreement, which you then must deposit with the Registrar of Political Parties within 21 days. So, reminding both Raila and Dr. Ruto, and then maybe I should prefix Raila with Right Honorable Raila
yes.
and Dr. Ruto, that they are not late. It's not 21 days yet. Do the honorable thing. Do not pretend that you can have an MOU which is not a coalition agreement. Yet it's delving into the governance of the country.
Absolutely.
This is a marriage, a political marriage through the back door. A proper political marriage, as per our constitution and laws, must be a coalition agreement deposited with the registrar. And what harm does this document cause to Kenyans? With drawing the accountability mechanisms,
Is there really
they
an opposition
continue
there?
to sit on watchdog committees that belong to parties not in government. They're sitting on public accounts committees, there are 3 of them, public investments, another 3, both in the National Assembly, in the Senate. They should cease sitting in those committees to give parties truly committed to the opposition to hold the government into account. They already have 4 people in cabinet. That is set to increase. They are set to have PSs and many other people in government. How will ODM members audit their own members in parliament? To date, we are told that just 1.3 trillion, that's more than a third of the budget.
Correct.
Has been withdrawn irregularly from the consolidated fund under Buddy's watch. Buddy is the cabinet secretary for treasury.
Correct.
He is an ODM member. How are they going to audit them? Kenya Power keeps on raising tariffs and doing so many things that are wrong. It's Opio Wandai at energy docket. How are they going to audit him? The issue of minerals is controversial. Who is exploiting our minerals? Do we have a register of the minerals in Kenya and where they are to be found? Who is exploiting them and under what terms? That is Joho. How are they going to audit? And then there's the issue of East African, where our school is. They're set to increase. The honorable thing to do, I want to remind my former boss, Raila Odinga, is to deposit this agreement with the registrar, call it what it is, a coalition agreement between two parties. Stop destroying the accountability mechanism and violating the constitution that you so fought for, that you contributed to bringing into force. And I do remember that immediately the KK government claimed victory, which we dispute up to this day. In order to have numbers in parliament to elect the speaker, they immediately descended on Azimio members. And one notable group was the UDM party, which had about 10 members, because they wanted to show up their numbers. If you remember me saying at KICC that we are the majority party in parliament, people were too scared, even media were too scared to repeat that. Yet, years later, the court has confirmed that indeed Azimio was the majority party. We complained, Raila complained, us as deputy then I complained, and the entire Azimio complained, that the KK regime was doing something unconstitutional, that they should have bargained with UDM, and UDM would have to leave Azimio before becoming a partner of any other party, any other coalition. That was not done. They did it irregularly, and we complained bitterly. Why now? Why, my brother and friend Raila Odinga? Why are you doing this to the country?
I mean,
please. We know that Ruto has never had much respect for the Constitution, but that's not what we know of Right Honorable Raila. We expect you to lead him to obey the Constitution. In fact, one of the 10 points is rule of law.
Correct.
You cannot start your partnership by violating the law and then claiming that you go back to the rule of law. The abductions are as a result of violations of the law. Most of the things being mentioned are because the law is being violated. How then do you start a union that continues those violations of the law? It means all the things you say amount to nothing.
You know, it's to this administration, what is becoming very apparent to a lot of Kenyans is the rule of law and the Constitution is just but a mere suggestion that is just put there for decoration, but with no intent of following this. Now, I want us to take a very quick break, but when we come back, we'll be looking at matters, abuse of office and how this administration is continuously abusing office, funds that go unaccounted for. You've just mentioned 1.3 trillion that was withdrawn in 7 months manually at that. And the very fact that we still do not have anyone sounding the alarms to look into the embezzlement and plundering that is happening day by day, while Kenyans are being burdened with taxes, being burdened with promises. There's the front page of the Standard today that has highlighted the promises that have come out of this week, including 1 million chapatis per day, but I don't want us to dwell on that. We'll get a quick reaction from our guest, Honorable Mother Karua. Do not touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Kila safari huanza na ndoto. Ndoto za kufanikiwa maishani. Ndoto za kufanikiwa kibiashara. Ndoto za kufanikiwa kimaendeleo. It's not just a bank to me. For 4 decades, we have been your trusted partner, witnessing the achievements of each generation. As we celebrate 40 years, our promise is to be with you for life, and our commitment to you remains steadfast. Family Bank, your preferred bank for biashara. Tufanikishe zaidi.
Capital News headlines with Bank.
From Kenya over RSF allegations, state to introduce agriculture police units to safeguard key sectors and high
Success in Birashara starts with the right financial partner. For 4 decades, Family Bank has empowered businesses with SME financing, trade support, and digital banking. Let's grow together, today and for the next 40 years. Family Bank, your preferred bank for Birashara. Tried and tested for 40 years.
Capital Sports Update, where sports is taken seriously.
A very good morning to you. The Service Park at the Wildlife Research and Training Institute in Naivasha has become a beehive of activities as competitors start docking for next week's WRC Safari Rally. Service Park manager Joe Mushiri says they have engaged locals to ensure everything is on point ahead of the event proper on Wednesday next week. So far, the Hyundai Motorsport and Toyota Gazoo have arrived at the park with their respective cars, with Ford M Sport expected to dock anytime from today.
The locals, we have engaged them a lot because we have done the repair of the roads, which we started a month ago, and we have been evolving them. Right now, as you can see when you walk in, you saw a lot of guys, the locals, they're working. They're making sure our service park is so set, it's so clean.
Athletics Kenya have named a team of 10 athletes to represent the country at next week's World Indoor Championships in Nanjing in China. The team includes a number of elite runners, including Africa 800 meters silver medalist Lilian Odira, African Games 800 meters champion Alex Ngeno, and the 2018 World Mountain Running champion Purity Gitonga, among others. Kenya will be hoping for an improved performance from last year's competition in Glasgow, where they won only one medal, courtesy of Beatrice Chepkoech's bronze medal in the women's 3,000 meters. On the international front, UEFA have said they will explore the possibility of tweaking the rules around penalties following Julian Alvarez disallowed spot kick against Real Madrid on Tuesday night. In a statement, the European football governing body say they will meet the International Football Association Board and FIFA to explore the possibility of relaxing the rules in instances where a player accidentally touches the ball twice. Alvarez slipped and touched the ball twice when taking his penalty, leading to his goal being disallowed in the round of 16 Champions League tie against their bitter rivals. And finally, Bayern Munich midfielder Joshua Kimmich has signed a new 4-year contract with the club. The German national team captain said is excited to extend his stay with the Bundesliga Giants, as its best matches is Sporting Goals. The 30-year-old's contract was set to expire at the end of the season and had been linked with a move to Arsenal. And that's your sports. My name is Davis Ayega.
Capital Sports Update, up to the minute sports, where sports is taken seriously.
With Family Bank.
Sudan halts imports from Kenya over RSF allegations. State to introduce agriculture police unit to safeguard tea sector. And high stakes as China hosts Iran and Russia for nuclear talks.
Success in Birashara starts with the right financial partner. For 4 decades, Family Bank has empowered businesses with SME financing, trade support, and digital banking. Let's grow together, today and for the next 40 years. Family Bank, your preferred bank for Birashara. Tried and tested for 40 years.
Well, if you're just joining us, we are here on the Friday flight with myself, Elaris, and DJ Adrian, and our guest today is none other than the Fire Lady, Iron Lady, Mother Karua, and we've just been looking at, a few things here and there to do with the country and exactly what's been happening with a certain MOU that we saw signed on 7th of March. And the question that a lot of us are asking is, was this a genuine commitment to addressing national issues or just political maneuvering? And you know what? I would go with the latter, but I want you to weigh in with your opinion and how to do it. 07019849984 is our WhatsApp line, or over at X at 984 in the morning using the hashtag drive. And do let us know if at all you have a question or two for our guests today. But we are not done with this conversation because really there's a lot we could cover. And we're going to try and cover that with the time that we have on our hands. Now, before the break, we did mention, wasting of public funds. Every day we wake up to a different screaming headline. 1.3 trillion. I don't know how many billions. Heck, the time of Uhuru Kenyatta, he did say that we lose 2 billion shillings a day, but I think under the KK administration, we are losing a lot more than that. And of course, now the general sentiment on the ground is Kenyans are struggling. We are facing a high cost of living, increasing debt, an economic slowdown. Yet the government keeps saying that the economy is growing. So it's growing in their pockets for sure. And it becomes a question right now to anybody that says they're running for office. How do we address the economic situation in this country? Because yes, we've been politicking for a very long time, but right now we have an economic issue in our hands. And my question to you would be, because it's one of the questions that actually came through the poll that I did over at Instagram, is what would be your economic plan for this country, given that we find ourselves in this situation? And even as you're answering us that, you deal with abuse of office as far as this current regime is concerned, because we keep hearing corruption, and yet the watchdogs don't do anything. We've just seen Ferdinand Waititu, who was locked up, but I mean, he's not the ultimate thief. There's a lot more people that are roaming free, including the ones in government right now that are not being held accountable. So we want somebody who's coming in the next administration to crack the whip and deal with that. So what would be your economic agenda be?
It's a pro-people agenda, an economy that works for the 54 million Kenyans, not just for a few at the top. Those saying the economy is growing, and you rightly said it can only be in their pockets, maybe among those who are ripping us off.
Correct.
If you are taking our money and using it for your own purpose, then obviously you say things have improved. But if an economy works for the people and we are prioritizing spending, because in Kenya, the problem is that it's not that we are not money. It's not a revenue problem. It's an expenditure problem. We are our own little budgets, because your salary is your entire treasury if you're an employee. What you do with that, you prioritize rent or mortgage because you don't want to be out in the streets. You prioritize food for yourself and family. Have a car loan, you prioritize it. If you are a mortgage, it will be among your priorities. You cannot start going on holiday before paying your mortgage unless if you want to be sold. So the approach to the economy should be a common sense approach with the interests of people at heart, coming first.
Yeah.
If the interests of people come first, you will not expand employment before catering, especially the top posts, because what is this MOU doing? Expanding the top posts, and specifically to political cronies. The first step the KK and ODM took was members of ODM and of its leadership into government. And that is Wandai, Oparanya, Joho, and Asko. They were all leaders in ODM. And they entered through the back door in the sense that Raila and ODM continued to insist they were not in government, yet they entered government. In one hand, Raila will admit that Ruto asked for experts and he gave him.
Correct.
Now they have a 10-point plan, which for all intent and purposes is a coalition agreement. This is how we will deal with governance. Because as an opposition, you give your proposals from the opposition benches, not from inside government.
Yeah.
This is so against the people because it has weakened the voice of the people and the accountability role. I think this needs to be challenged in courts of law, especially by the parties that would occupy the positions that are being held by ODM. Among them is my twin political brother, Kalonzo Musyoka, because Wiper Party now would emerge the leader in that parliament, together with the Jubilee that is affiliated to Uhuru Kenyatta, because the speaker has split Jubilee by giving a faction of Jubilee a political party status in parliament, and DAPK, parties that are truly in the opposition. I believe will be challenged soon by those in opposition, if not by the parties, by their membership, and let the court decide, because we cannot have an unofficial arrangement that is actually not only a violation of the law, but that weakens accountability mechanism. So again, back to how we would handle the economy, is prioritizing the needs of the people. Article 43 of the Constitution demands that the basic needs of the people be met. And if people are vulnerable, it's up to the government of the day to ensure that they have the basic needs. This is 15 years after passing of the Constitution. We ought to have prioritized what really matters to the people. We have destroyed education. I would prioritize education. Capitation would not be late any day. Nor would we keep 18,000 university students without help. And I'm sure there are more than 18,000.
Well, with the help matter, he did promise that disbursement would be done by today being Friday.
Let us see, because when the court says that the new model he wishes to bring is unconstitutional, as a believer in the rule of law, they should listen to the court, and while the case is pending, they should have gone back to the status quo before, which is help. And it worked perfectly.
Exactly.
We do not want a discriminatory system that allows them to cherry pick whom to give loans, who not to. Let all students who are eligible be given loans across the board. After all, it's loans to pay.
Correct.
We would prioritize health. The share shift mess, we need not spend another day talking about it. Money, we now know, is going to a private account.
Correct.
We now know 104 billion has already been pocketed by cronies of Dr. William Ruto, because the day the directors of those companies were bared, we saw that it was his crony. His cronies who are having that whatever. So it looks like the share shift fiasco is to scam Kenyans out of millions of shillings, billions, so to say, while not catering children, old, all ages, when for lack of access to health.
To healthcare.
So prioritize people's needs, and on the other hand, cut all wasteful spending. Stop misusing our money. Stop the theft. And how do you do that? Apply the rule of law. Make sure that there is proper enforcement. That's what a government does.
Correct.
That's about running the country. If you cannot enforce the law, there are abductions, there is corruption, there are irregular demolitions, there are all manner of violation of people's individual and collective rights. Then you're not a government, you are a rogue state. And I worry that my brother Raila chose to join a rogue state, and which will effectively erase his
legacy.
Reform credentials.
Your good friend Jimmy Wanjigi, if I was to quote something that he said about the economic transformation of this country, one of the things he's been very particular about is that when we're reviewing the loans that we're paying as a country, come the next administration, which he's looking to be part of, is that he will not pay a single dime to a loan that was, either picked by somebody, and yet there's no, it does not reflect to any kind of use that benefits the people. And this is, in a way to deal with the piling debt that we keep hearing about, and they keep parading it as inherited debt. So Kenya finds itself in a place where we have a debt of 11 trillion, and yet every single day we are borrowing, and we are seeing no development. So we are almost backed to a corner. What would be your strategy in terms of, one, dealing with the debt that we have presently as a country, because it's just accruing by the day, and also dealing with the people responsible for putting us in this position?
Number one, stop reckless borrowing. Reckless and unconstitutional. You cannot borrow for recurrent expenditure. You only borrow for development.
For development, true.
The next thing is to have a register of debts and to audit all debts. Auditing means you must match the debt with a development that was ongoing. Where was the debt applied? You will find that quite a number of the loans borrowed, the money never came to the consolidated fund.
Correct.
It was shared abroad. And if money came, only a small portion, the rest being shared abroad. You trace where the money went and take appropriate legal action to recover or to abandon that debt, because if the lender knows, there's a process of going to the international court to refuse to be burdened by what is called odious debt.
Correct.
Debt that was taken in violation of both the laws of the country and international lending norms. Because these are gangsters sometimes coming together. Gangsters in the country and gangsters outside. To fleece the country. And this happens repeatedly in the developing world like Kenya. We must stop it. So put a stop to reckless borrowing and register all the debts and trace how they were used, and then take appropriate action. I started by saying about rule of law. There's nowhere you can be able to establish order without rule of law. It's not in finance. It's not in the rights of the people. It's not in the application of our money. It's not also in how we manage our resources, both human and otherwise.
Yeah.
We need that if you're being paid by the public, you must account for your time in the office.
Correct.
We cannot pay members of parliament, both at the county and the national level, to be chasing tenders day in, day out, and neglecting their watchdog role. We cannot pay those who are on top, including Dr. William Ruto, so that he spends his time politicking and
rooftops.
not sitting in office
Yeah.
to work on policies and to supervise what is being done so that he delivers to Kenyans. In Nairobi, he's had a tour. Was it 2 days or 3 this week?
Started Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah, 3 days. The result of that tour has been a lot of politicking and people being roughed up by hooligans on the road. When that happened the first day along Thika Road, the next day he behaved as though nothing happened. He didn't even condemn it. He did not even ask the youth accompanying him to respect the rights of others. For me, he endorsed, by his silence, he endorsed that rogue behavior.
Correct.
No wonder it followed him to Kawangware. You know, the
Yes.
first day, supermarkets were raided.
Correct.
People were harassed on the road. People, you know, the hooligans stole from people, harassed them, injured some. In Kawangware, we saw people closing the shops long ahead of the tour. And yes, the same pattern continued.
And the pattern continued, and there was a loss of life yesterday, courtesy of the presidential motorcade on Gong
we
Road.
have not had him on that incident against the rights of the people that happens either in your rally, in your motorcade. You should pay attention to it and apologize. It doesn't have to be your official vehicles,
Yeah.
but it has happened in the course of your motorcade, in your course of your whatever.
The
And
tour, yeah.
because the buck stops with him and he chairs the National Security Council, he should take responsibility, apologize to that family, send his condolences, and he could have even done that through his press office. But it's as though nothing has happened. And to know that he owns the people who harassed, owns in quotes because they were in his rally or his hirings. there were some motorcycle riders who went to
State House to claim
collect.
their dues.
And they actually got their dues. I hear they did.
Oh.
It has never happened in the history of this country.
And the saddest thing is that all of this is happening in the full glare of the public, meaning we've gotten to a place where it is no longer being hidden, and it just goes to show the level of impunity, but also disregard for that office that continues to happen every single day. Now, I know we, just need to very quickly jump into the news, but I have two matters that I would want your thoughts on. One is, of course, on GBV and femicide in this country, and it being, something that, we've been out in the streets, we've tumekula tear gas sana, just because we are out there demanding that we get justice around that. So we are going to come back and have a small discussion about that, and also the future of Kenya, but also getting your thoughts on two women that we are celebrating this month, and that is the Auditor General and the other lady, the budget auditor, yes, the Auditor General and controller of budget. Yes, that's the name that I was missing.
Nancy Gadongo and Margaret Nyakango.
Two
powerful,
two very
ladies
powerful
of
women.
Integrity.
I love that. We'll come back and we can get Mother Karua's thoughts on the two phenomenal ladies that have really been shining a light to exactly what's happening inside government. And also stick around, because the 9 to 10 o'clock hour is proudly brought to you by Absa Prestige Banking. What are you doing if not banking with Absa, especially Prestige Banking, where we ask you to own the moment, own the music, and also own the decisions around your life.
Struggling to find skincare products suited to your skin? Explore vitamin N, found in every Amara bottle, formulated with natural oils to soothe and protect your skin. With a variety of products to suit your skin's unique needs, Amara is perfect for every skin type. Introducing the only skincare brand with vitamin N for nature. Amara, embrace nature.
Eastlands, Thika Road, Ngong Road, wherever you are in Nairobi, Aga Khan University Hospital is now closer than ever. With 53 outpatient medical centers, world-class healthcare is right in your neighborhood. Stay tuned to The Jam with me, June and Martin, daily from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. as we break down how the Aga Khan University Hospital is making specialized care more accessible, convenient, and tailored for you. Want to know more? Well, keep it locked right here on Capital FM. For details, visit any Aga Khan University Hospital Medical Center or call 0730-011-888. Aga Khan University Hospital, world-class care here and now.
The best mix of music.
Capital Newsbeat.
Sudan holds imports from Kenya over RSF allegations set to introduce agricultural police unit to safeguard tea sector, and Trump threatens 200% tariff on alcohol from EU. Good morning. I'm Davis Ayega.
Capital Newsbeat.
Sudan has suspended all imports from Kenya, citing national security concerns. In a directive issued on Tuesday, Sudan's acting Minister for Trade and Supply, Omar Hamid Mohammed Ali, said the decision follows a recommendation by Sudan's Sovereign Council. The council accused Kenya of hosting the Rapid Support Forces militia and supporting its activities. The import ban applies to all Kenyan products entering Sudan through ports, airports and border crossings and will remain in effect until further notice. Authorities have been instructed to enforce the directive with immediate effect. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe has announced that the ministry plans to introduce an agricultural police unit to safeguard the tea sector. Speaking during a consultative meeting with stakeholders, Kagwe said the move is aimed at safeguarding the tea value chain players following incidents of invasion of tea plantations and factories by members of the public. Kagwe said that the proposed tea levy shall allocate funds for the establishment of a common tea market development fund, which will be used to market and promote Kenya tea for local and international market.
Wewe mwenyewe unajua huyu mtu anaitwa Kamau, yeye ana eka moja na analete majani ya eka 20. Wewe unafikiri huyu mtu alitoa hiyo majani wapi? There is only one way. Either he walked into a plantation at night, acquired some land there illegally, and started bringing the tea, or he stole from somewhere. It is not possible otherwise.
And finally, the US President Donald Trump has threatened a 200% tariff on any alcohol coming to the US from the European Union in the latest twist of an escalating trade war. The threat is a response to the EU's plans for a 50% tax on imports of US-produced whiskey as part of its retaliation to Trump's tariffs on all steel and aluminium imports to the US. The US President called for the immediate removal of the EU's nasty tariff on US whiskey, calling the bloc hostile and abusive, and formed for the sole purpose of taking advantage of the United States. A European Commission spokesperson said that calls are being prepared between the US and the EU to discuss this situation. For more on this and other stories, dial star 411 star 4 hash. That's Capital Newsbeat. My name is Davis Ayega. You're up to date at 4 minutes past 9.
Capital Newsbeat. Hashtag appoint IEBC now. Capital in the Morning Request Hour. Brought to you by ABSA Prestige Banking. Own your moment with ABSA Prestige Banking. ABSA Bank is licensed and regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
Well, you're back with me, Felaris, here on 984 in the morning, because we are here to wrap up a conversation we've been having with our guest, Honorable Mother Karua, who's gracious enough to share her morning with us. I just wish I had a full-on breakfast spread for you, but next time I commit to doing exactly that. Now, before the break, I did mention two women that we need to be celebrating this month, and that's the Auditor General and the Controller of Budget, who I feel have done something that has really helped Kenyans understand the rot that lies within our institutions, our country, our counties, and even our country. And I was just asking, Honorable Mother, what her thoughts are in terms of what these two ladies are doing, because you've walked that path for long, and it requires so much grit, but also what's the message you'd have for the both of them as they continue doing the they're doing right now?
Firstly, it takes sheer grit for them to do what they're doing. They exemplify the best of women's leadership, the best of professionalism, the best for standing up for the rule of law. Correct. These two women are safeguarding the resources of this country the way a mother looks after the interests of the children and of the home. These women, to them I say congratulations. You are Kenyan heroes, and Kenyans are behind you. Continue doing what you're doing. We just wish many other state officers would emulate these two ladies, Nancy Gadongo, Auditor General, and Margaret Nyakango, Controller of Budget. Dear sisters, you are the best. Continue doing what you do.
I love that. Congratulations, ladies, and keep doing the good work. Now, two matters that I want us to quickly get into, because I know we have to wrap this up. GBV and femicide. I know you've been, an advocate, not only in the courts, but also in terms of the things that continue to plague us in society, one of them being how women and girls, and even the other gender, men, how they're treated. And we had Dr. Nancy Baraza here sometime last week, and she did mention that yourself, her, and a few other women were behind the foundations of FIDA, which really looks after matters, GBV, femicide. And last year we had shocking figures as far as that goes. And it was really a cry to this entire country to come to a halt and really look at why are we allowing these things to happen under our watch. Now, for me, it's the institutions that we look at that are supposed to be one, enforcing the law and creating provisions for these matters to be addressed. What are your thoughts around that?
Firstly, my sister Nancy Barasa is heading a task force on to look into issues of how to mitigate or stop femicide.
Correct.
And I want to say FIDA has been an advocate for women's rights. FIDA was started by Senior Counsel Lilian Mwaura and the late Surinda Kapila. Me and Dr. Nancy Barasa and the others are the second layer of the initial stages of FIDA. I just wanted to pay tribute to Senior Counsel Lilian Mwaura and to the late Surinda Kapila and those who actually started FIDA.
Yeah.
And then we came in as the second layer and we invigorated it to what it is today.
Yeah.
On femicide, it is all well good for Dr. Ruto to have a task force, but it has the urgency of now. While the task force takes its views and makes its recommendation in a couple of months, we want to know about our safety today, not tomorrow.
Correct.
It is no excuse for failure to take the steps required under the law. The lack of enforcement of the law is what is taking us where we are. Do you really believe that the police in Kenya, the intelligence, or the security apparatus, the NIS, that they really don't know what is happening? Or is it what we are hearing, that there is a cult that has found its way into Kenya that believes that you retain power by murdering and sacrificing young, beautiful women? And if you look at the thread of those killed, you will see a pattern for most of them. So what I'm saying, let Dr. Ruto, his KK brigade and all its associates take responsibility, stand up and enforce the rule of law. Make sure that the policing. I have just heard the Minister for Agriculture, Mutahi Kagwe, saying that there will be a squad formed just to guard tea. Is that the way forward? Shall we have police who are policing only women for femicide? Police policing only children because of pedophiles?
Yeah.
Police policing sections of society. Let us get law enforcement across the board working. Let us get the police force to work. I do not believe Kanja, Inspector General of Police, when he says he doesn't know what is happening on abductions. I know he knows. Maybe he's afraid to say there is a squad that is outside of the police force doing this with officers from the force, from the military, from NIS, in an abduction squad. No wonder they are asking for more money to fund these illegal squads. When the government of the day starts operating outside of the law and creating unlawful hit squads, that is how they destroy the rule of law and encourage gangs outside to prey on women, to prey on the economic life mainstream of the people, like tea, like coffee, like all the other things. So let's come back to the rule of law and let us get the security agencies working for us. I want to remind Dr. Ruto, just in case he has forgotten, that he is the one ultimately responsible for the security of Kenyans. He chairs the Security Council, which has all the security agencies, including the police, the army, the NIS. But I want to say the army has very little to do with internal policing. So what is actually the back squarely rests
it's on the police.
On the police and the NIS, who are being mentioned in some of those irregular actions.
In the budgetary allocations that have since been done, I've seen the police have gotten 7.5 billion shillings. So let's hope those funds will be put to good use. But then again, we keep saying it's the hope that kills, the hope that we keep having as Kenyans, which is unfortunate.
I actually want to go back to femicide. We have seen women speak out for themselves. Women go to the streets. We have not had enough of the women members of parliament.
Correct.
We have not had enough of the male members of parliament. We have not had enough. I want to remind them, femicide is not just a female matter. It's a matter for this country. I want to remind that male MP, 50% of your voters, no, 51% of your voters are women. 51% of the voters of any leader, including Dr. William Ruto, are women. So do not think women matters are for women representatives, 47 of them.
No.
That is merely to amplify the voices of women in parliament. You, a male elected representative, you are a woman representative too. 51% of your voters
are women.
And Dr. William Ruto is a women representative holding the seat of a president, because you represent 51% of women in this country and 49% men. Therefore, all of them have a responsibility to care what happens to women in this country. Take this as your matter. And Speaker Wetangula, you ought to be reminding Parliament. And in case you yourself was not aware, that House presides over the affairs of both men and women, and 51% of this country is women.
Correct.
You are failing if you're not leading all the members of the National Assembly to carry women's interests on their backs when they come to the floor of the House. We want to see the law implemented. As Dr. Nancy Barasa delves into the issue on the task force, the urgency of now. We want security as women of Kenya, as people of Kenya against abductions now. And I want to assure Kenyans that a PLP government would take care of all these issues, would prioritize the needs of Kenyans, would enforce the rule of law.
Honestly, the statement is loud and clear. 51%, Mr. President, the population of this country is looking to you. The population of women in this country, which is half of 52 million, we're looking at you and asking you, Mr. President, what are you doing about the crisis that we have in this country as far as femicide is concerned? Now, this has been such an insightful and necessary conversation, and I truly appreciate the time and wisdom that Honorable Mother Karua has brought with her. And as we wrap up, I want to look ahead. Kenya is at a crossroads, economically, socially, and politically, yes? And many Kenyans feel very disillusioned and uncertain about the future, and unsure if real change is even possible given what we keep seeing every single day. And at the same time, we're seeing young people engage in political discourse now more than ever. If last year was anything to go about, people have now become sensitive to the matters of this country. More women are stepping up, and there's a renewed sense and demand for accountability at this moment, especially those who believe that the 2027 elections will be a turning point in this country. Do you believe they're going to be a turning point? And what should we as citizens do right now to shape the future that we want?
Whether it's economic, whether it's our rights, whether it's farming, everything, we have to unite and liberate. And that's the slogan of the PLP. You and me are important. Leaders alone will not liberate Kenya, but together we will. Gen Z protests of last year, they emphasized the oneness of the country. That is our unity of need to amplify their voices by demanding accountability and the rule of law in this country. Because you cannot have transparency and accountability without enforcing the rule of law.
Absolutely.
We must build on the good example they set. And we say in PLP, we must unite and liberate. Unity of purpose, even when as opposition, we are uniting on the foundation of Article 10, which represents us as a nation. Not the values of any one of us, but the values of this nation. And it doesn't matter where any one of us was yesterday. But moving forward, we must move national values and principles of governance. So as Kenyans, under that banner, let us unite and liberate ourselves. To liberate health, we must unite and liberate. To free and to safeguard our human rights, we must unite and liberate. To build our shattered economy, we must unite and liberate. The solution is our oneness, emphasizing our oneness as a nation, unity of purpose to liberate ourselves.
That has been Honorable Mother Karua, who is the founder and really the chairperson of PLP, People's Liberation Party. And it's been an absolute honor having you here at 98.4 Capital FM on our Friday flight, which we never get to do things like this, but because it is International Women's Month, I mean, we can break a few rules because we are here to amplify conversations that allow us to accelerate action. If you missed the interview, YouTube, where you can catch the full interview. It's also going to be up on our SoundCloud. Thank you so much, Honorable Mother Karua.
Thank you, and allow me to say, women, affirm yourself each day and affirm others. This we can do together to accelerate action that is positive to